Hi, my name is Gary Brick. I thought tonight that might be out. I've had the opportunity to review the draft letter that's out front on water, and I'm going to take the time and trouble to read one line and tell you why I have contempt for the process you've been using and why I have less confidence in you this week than I had last week. On behalf of the City of Burbank, I commend your hard work in crafting a Delta legislative package that comprehensively addresses the state's water needs and urge that you pass this legislation without delay. Gary, I want to know if you wrote this, and I'll tell you why. There is no legislation that you can ask them to pass. There is no bill number on here. In Sacramento, they have bond legislation, and they have implementation legislation, and they have policy legislation. But unless and until you, Gary, as our mayor, have the assurance that the piece of legislation has a bill number on it, and an author and a co-author, and it increases our reliability of a water supply for Burbank, why would you even consider it? If Jess wants to do it, I understand. He didn't even know that there were more than one bill pending. But I know you know it because I told you. What legislation is this about? But you know what? Screw it. It isn't worth it. They didn't bother to tell you about the other bills, did they? When you and I talked, Mr. Mayor, the staff had never told you that there was more than one bill, more than one package. Why? I don't know. We met last on a Tuesday. I talked to Sacramento. I talked to legislators' offices. I got copies of the legislation, but they didn't provide it to you. I'm avoiding a subject that I'd really like to talk to you about, but I'm going to touch on it just briefly. Look at what I just said about what they hid from you about water. With all the publicity on TV, all the newspaper stories, they didn't bother to tell you what was actually pending in Sacramento. And the piece of paper they put in front of you doesn't even have a bill number on it. Now, if that's what your staff would do to you all over water, what do you think they've done about problems at our police department? I ask you publicly, how many times have you been told, or has it been suggested to you, that you don't want to know? How many times did we have to find out about emails, like from the president, chairman of our police commission, warning the commissioners, don't ask questions of Mr. Flad or the city council? I've brought this to your attention before. What have you done about it? How long has it been? You remember when I asked, who are the cowboys? Remember I asked you that question? I didn't ask it for entertainment value. When I asked you how many lawyers, how many investigators, how much money, oh, I got a bunch of crap. But oh, there's confidentiality. We can't tell you names. I never asked for the names. Last week, I was here, and I said to you, you're entitled to get the fruits of an investigation because you're elected officials. What did we hear from Barlow? Oh, I know Mr. Nolan would love to get... I never asked for anything for me. I asked it for you. There's a videotape of it. But it's very revealing what certain officials say and how they react. I'm just one person. But don't be fooled that I'm just speaking for myself. Don't be fooled that the people of Burbank aren't, in fact, holding you accountable for the mess. I suggest you go to work and clean it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Our next speaker will be Mr. Pickard, followed by Mr. DeNova.
I live right across the street from Neil Gunn and his family. Last 14 years. Earlier last week, I had a brief talk with him. Said I was thinking about getting have a minority appreciation night for the Burbank Police and Fire Department. That was a reasonable idea. And we also talked about the fact that his tree wasn't getting trimmed. He had these big, heavy branches up there. We have a street where these trees are slowly dying and they drop into the street. So I called, and they'll be trimmed in December. So there's a little flow on the council agenda here. Not a month ago, Neil's neighbors, a young liberal couple, teachers, a couple of kids, had put out a nice upright piano out on the sidewalk for whoever wanted it, and a new African-American couple, black couple, just moved in across the street, and the mom wanted the piano, and Neil was out trying to figure out how to get it over to her house, and I went and got my hand cart, and then the mom had to leave to go pick up the son, and so Neil and I and a couple of others took it over to her house for her. And he was concerned that when she came back and she saw it missing, she'd be a little upset. And I said, well, it'll be a few seconds before she sees it's in her driveway. Having thought about it, I realized, Neil would have liked it better if we'd put up some signs so that mom didn't even have a few seconds of needless worry. That's Neil. All right? My sport is fencing. I know whether somebody can handle themselves or not. Neil can handle himself. He's not going to move without purpose. He's not. He's got a well-spirited, brown-skinned African-American wife. Raised, I think it's 3 daughters and a son. One's on the police department. What are you going to accuse him of? Against maybe worries about young guys in gangs? You ought to see all the young guys on the force who are over there with tears in their eyes. That's Neil. So I hope, David, that you intend to get stuff public. You get a hearing, there's a lot of people with a lot of information, regardless of what the people on the inside say, oh, this is an internal investigation. There's enough stuff out there that we can get closer and closer to what's going on, because the first attack against the Burbank Police Department on discrimination, right? Guy got fired, sued, the judge threw it out on its face. The first attack goes to court, no merit. I mean, it's got to be pretty bad for a judge to throw it out. The first attack. Then we have a consistent attack going on against the police department. And he targets a guy. Well, one of the things about somebody who's discriminating and abusing others is they don't take responsibility for solving the problems in their own life. They blame it on others. One of the things you cannot accuse Neil of is not taking responsibility for what's going on in his own life. So, no, we're not going to let up on this. We'll have a pretty good idea what's going on, who's responsible, and the public hearing. But the press is going to stay with it. We've talked to them, see what they're doing. So we're going to keep those young men in the department. They're not going to break and run. This did not demoralize the department to the point of people quitting. They're in. They're going to stay in. We do not need to have Stair resign until he has taken this through as far as he can on the investigation. He's not the culprit here, except maybe not having stood up and fought and seen the battle that he had to address. Nor is Varner. This is a little different level. So this is, you guys are under full-scale attack, organized, systematic, internal, and you can't just sort of blame people, but you do need to start dragging this stuff out in public. There's plenty of information around. The word of mouth in this town is pretty effective. People were telling me what was happening across the street. They were in another part of town. Okay? So stick with it. Don't quit. Get it out in the public. There are lots of ways of doing it.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker will be Mr. Philip D. Nova.